Hi, welcome to Money Talks, the Journal Times online business show. I'm business reporter Michael Burke, and with me today are my two guests, both from downtown Racine. We have Jane Key from Inside Out, and we're going to be talking about her retirement and the closing of her business. And we have a newcomer, brand new to downtown, Lori Lester of Divino Gelato Cafe. And by the way, Lori was nice enough to fill in at the very last minute here. We had a cancellation of another guest who was supposed to be here for medical reasons, so thanks a lot for doing that. Let's start, well, first of all, in case somebody watching doesn't know, Inside Out, you're in the 400 block of Main. What is your address?
406 Main.
406, and you're right at the corner of 2nd and Main. What's the address there?
That is 245.
245, and it's the formerly Dunn Brothers space,
Correct.
and we'll be talking a little bit about the gorgeous space that you have occupied.
Thanks.
Originally an old hotel, which I'm sure you know. Let's just talk about the names of the businesses, first of all, how each of you came. What does the name Inside Out, where does that come from, Jane?
I was a designer, interior designer in Chicago for years, Naperville, Illinois, and Chicago. And I basically picked out colors and things for people inside their home and outside. And Diana Ross had a really great song, and she was singing about inside out, and you turn me inside out and all around. And so I thought I can be anything I want with this company name. So I kept it. And then when I opened this business, because I opened that 10 years before I moved here. So when I moved to Racine and decided to do Inside Out, I kept Inside Out.
Brought the name with you.
Yep.
And Divino Gelato Cafe, we'll be getting into some detail on what gelato is for those who don't know, but where does the Divino part come from?
Divino means divine.
In Italian,
yes,
right?
in Italian.
And
it's divine gelato.
Yeah,
okay,
I get
that's
it.
the literal
I've been to
translation.
Tuscany. I get it.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Well, let's talk about your shop a little because you are so new to downtown. You opened, I believe, October 5th, the first Friday. Did you make it open by then?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay.
It was crazy.
And that's only 2.5 weeks ago, so you're really brand new.
Yes, we are very new here.
Yeah. So tell us, what is gelato?
Gelato it's an Italian ice cream. It's there's less air beat into it than most ice creams and custards. We, in particular, use Italian ingredients. So we're using pastes, for instance. Our pistachio is 100% Sicilian pistachio nuts. It's a lower fat product, lower air, much more dense and much more flavorful. Ice cream, which I know very well also because I do have an ice cream shop. So we make both. We make gelato, we make ice cream. And ice cream is much higher in fat content. Our premium ice cream is somewhere between 18 and 22, where gelato is between 4 and 8% milk fat.
Wow.
Our sorbettos have no fat and no dairy. So for the people that are lactose intolerant, it's a phenomenal product. And because it's a slower churning process, it's a real dense product, and you have all the flavor of the gelato or the sorbetto.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Now, of course, I shouldn't say of course, but you have more than that in your cafe. So you have what? You have coffee lines, and what are some of the other
cafe,
things?
Yes, we have a lot of different coffee drinks. We have some sandwiches. We tried to stick with the original gelateria that they have, the gelaterias that they have in Italy. That's kind of what we wanted to portray at this location. This is our 4th location, and this one is we love this spot. We love Racine. We absolutely love the people here. We fell in love with it, so we want to make this our home. The building in itself is just so unique, and we felt, and it is, I guess, an Italian architect design, which is phenomenal for us.
Oh yeah,
as well.
what a perfect fit.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to offer the same things that they do in Italy, which is sandwiches, paninis. We have some wines. We have some Italian dessert type drinks that we'll be introducing, just a few. And of course our coffees, the espresso. We will be also introducing an Italian espresso line It's called Aiello, which we're really excited about.
Yeah.
You know of that?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
love it.
Yeah.
Cappuccinos and espresso.
and so then of course our gelato and some desserts here and there, and we have gourmet popcorn, so we make popcorn as well.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to even more details about your cafe. Jane, how do you describe Inside Out to people who haven't stepped through the door yet? And where do your products come from?
My products come from about 40 different countries. I was raised on the National Geographic instead of Grimm's Fairy Tales. My grandfather read us the National Geographic. I have been absolutely...
I love that little anecdote.
Well, no, it's the truth.
That's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that.
His father was a charter member of the magazine, because when it was introduced at one of the state fairs, one of the World's Fairs or the expositions that was held like in St. Louis or somewhere. So my grandfather was raised on the National Geographic also. So I have love of folk art and peoples from all over the world. And growing up in Oklahoma and Texas, we had lots of Indians and the 5 civilized tribes, so I was very familiar with folk art from them. And so I just opened a store, and I've always had ties with Mexico, and I love India and China. Some of my finest things came from China when I first opened. And it's like if the National Geographic had a store, that's what mine would be.
It's a very eclectic shop.
Very eclectic.
Yeah.
Very eclectic.
Yeah.
And people really tend to love it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I'd like to hear how each of you came to be downtown. How did you come to be downtown as opposed to someplace else in Racine, maybe?
Probably because growing up in a small town, I loved my downtown in Oklahoma, and I grew up in a state where all our downtowns are gone. They just don't exist anymore because everything pulled out and Walmart came in. I loved Racine when I moved here. I moved here in 1985. My husband was with Case. International Harvester went under, and Case brought him up here.
That was a tough period for downtown, by the way.
It was very tough.
The mall had opened in 1981.
Well, I tried to shop
sound.
everywhere I could down here. And, I even shopped at the Army-Navy. I had a son that was in high school, so we loved the Army-Navy store. But after my husband died, shortly after we moved here, I worked for Hans Hansen, and they were big proponents of downtown.
Furniture.
Yeah,
store.
furniture, Scandinavian. And I ran their store in Brookfield, so I was in Milwaukee for 10 years. But my mother died, left me a little money, and I called my sister, and I said, I'm going to open a little store in downtown Racine. And I knew the building because I loved that old window I was at 2370.
Yeah, she was in your block originally.
Yeah, I was where anything's
Same
possible
Oh,
is.
sure.
Yeah. And I just rented the building and took off and went to Mexico, Morocco, and Europe and got all this stuff and opened June 8th of 1996. But I love downtown.
That little shop was so small, and you had so much stuff in there
Yes.
that, to move 5 feet took you a long time.
Yes.
Because for one, you had to wind your way through there, but for another, you were looking on the floor, you were looking in front, you were looking up, you were looking everywhere.
Because we
you
used
had that place
every
packed.
single square
You did.
inch.
You did, yeah.
The UPS guy was afraid when he delivered boxes that if he stacked them the wrong way, we might just tip over. But we never did.
And then eventually you came
Moved
down
up
to
get big, to get more space.
yeah, yeah. And talk about as another outsider from Racine or to Racine, how you came to be downtown.
Well, we had planned, this is for our fourth location, to go into Brookfield Square in about this time of the year. So we were planning on making another move with our gelato. However, Copacetic Cats, Monty, and Mary, they put their second shop in Waukesha, not far from my store in Waukesha. And we have Friday Night Live there every Friday night. And Joe and I happened to be, my husband and I walked past Copacetic. We wanted to introduce ourselves, and we did, and we started talking to them. And they told us about Racine, and that's where their store was. And I hadn't been here for at least 25 years, I'm going to say. It's been a long time. And I would just travel through. I never actually stopped here. So I didn't really know a lot about Racine. My husband's not from this area. He's from Connecticut, and he's lived in a number of places. He was in medical device career. So anyway, he didn't know about Racine, and I said to Joe, they told us about the old Dunn Brothers location, how it's vacated, and we should probably look into that. And I said, I don't know if you're going to like Racine that much. I haven't, So anyway, we took a drive here. The next day, we fell in love with it instantly, went to the beach. We felt like we were in Florida. Loved the harbor, fell in love with this building. Our first Sunday was 12 to 4. Our second Sunday, I had training from 9 a.m. to 12, and we had people outside waiting to get in. So we're listening to the community. What are the needs here? We want to be able to meet, as many needs as we possibly can with our hours and that kind of thing, our offerings. And a lot of people said you need to be open earlier on Sundays. So we're open from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. on Sundays, and we've been steady all day. So, we're open 7 days a week. And that's now. Our hours will be longer in the summer. But we're getting people coming in, and as long as we get the customers, we're going to stay open. So we have had a really good response. We're very happy so far. Hopefully it stays that way.
Well, I figure it can only grow as people become more aware and you build your customer base.
I hope so.
Yeah, interesting about the Sundays. What about you, Jane? What's been your sales pattern over the years? What were your best years, and when? What years have been more difficult?
My very best years were the 2 years of construction when you literally had to walk a plank to get into my store. Those are my 2 top years.
Which is an amazing statement.
But the DRC...
You should have seen downtown, by the way. It was like
I heard it was awful.
Disaster
Yeah, but
zone.
you know what? We had a DRC and a mayor and the city that worked so well with us that it was unreal.
Wow.
The construction company was in where Avenue Frame is. They set up an office there, and you could go and
I remember that.
complain, do anything you needed to do, or say, and the guys were really helpful. I'd go, I got to get these people across this plank because a lot of my customers are older, and they'd help them across and
Make them walk the
and
plank.
literally. But the community really got behind us, and we all kind of pulled together, and it was just fabulous.
That is really a story.
And
you're not the only one who has said that
I'm not
either.
the only one that
Dorothy,
said that.
who was
No.
going to join us today, said the same
no,
thing.
yeah, and so those were my best years, and and I think the reason is that people had to use the ramps. This is a town that does not like ramps, and it just amazes me because everywhere I've ever lived I had a park and a ramp, and it didn't bother me.
Do you think Racine is that different though? I think society has changed in about a generation by the big box stores, and people are so used to being able to drive up, free parking, ample parking, and not have coins. I suspect you could go a lot of places.
Then they should shop at Walmart. I'm sorry. At the places I want to go, I have to plug a meter or park in the ramp. And what we did is we made it, people had to park in the ramp, and they had to walk them down the street.
Wow.
They didn't have any time limit. You could park in the ramp for however long you needed to park. And women actually came down for lunch. They shopped before and shopped after, stopped and had coffee, had lunch, whatever, and,
Yeah.
And but as far as uniform hours for shops, it's very difficult. I've been down here 17 years, and when I opened, I decided I was only going to be open Tuesday through Saturday because it was my store, and I wanted Sunday and Monday off because of being a retailer. And I did that for about 2 years. Then I had to be open on Sundays.
Why did you have to?
Because everybody's bugging me, and I don't, you don't want to be the odd duck out. I don't want to be the one that causes all of downtown to go under because I wasn't open on Sunday.
Okay.
So I was open on
so
Sunday.
you tried that.
Yeah. Never had a Sunday worth anything, but it doesn't cost that much to have someone there 4 hours. And then I started opening on Mondays. Mondays, probably one of my best days ever.
Really?
Yes, and it's unreal. It still is good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's odd because a lot of shops are closed on Mondays.
I know,
Yeah.
but for some reason, Mondays are terrific.
You are the odd duck out.
But First Fridays are fabulous, things like that. I think,
That's been a great event for downtown, the First
right.
Fridays.
And I remember when that started, very few people would stay open and this and that. And it was like, come on. And now it's one of the biggest things we have,
Yeah.
You're
here today, though, because you're going to be retiring
Yes, I'm
and
retiring.
closing your shop, and,
Yep.
you're taking the name with you again, just as you brought it
Yep.
in. You're taking it
I'm
out to
taking
be
it
able
with
to
me.
continue using. I know age is part of it. You're just kind of ready for that in your life. But you've had some struggles, too. Talk about what September 11th did to your business.
Well, I used to travel around and just bring box after box after box back with me on the airlines. And I mean, it was nothing for me to go to Mexico and come back with 25 dish packs full of goods. And I'd just come through customs and they'd look at one or two of them and I'd have a thing telling what was in them. And after September 11th, the government has cracked down and everything has to come in formal entry now, meaning a broker has to bring it across. There's no duty for it. There's not anything, but you just can't fill your suitcase up. And I know there's people out there going, yes, you can. Your little tourist woman that wants to bring back 40 scarves and pay for a trip, she can do that. But I can't do it. I'm in the books as a retailer. And that's how I travel. When they go, are you going on business? Yes. And so it's been very difficult. And to get goods in has gotten more and more and more and more expensive. So it's also cut down on the type of goods I can get. I used to get beautiful things from Afghanistan. Now they have to be snuck in because of the embargoes and all this stuff we have. And the African pieces I have, guys used to bring in huge containers. Now they just fly it in. You can't fly in as much. So it kind of cut down on how much I could have.
Very, very almost direct impact on your business.
Right.
Of course, then you overlay the recession, which
the recession has been hard. I have nothing you need. If you want to cheer yourself up, you can have an ice cream. You can go out to eat.
Yeah.
If you want to cheer yourself up and you don't have a dime, you don't really want to come in my store because people love it and they go, I can't afford that. And I've done everything. I've taken, I do layaway in this, but I'm 67. My only family lives in Amsterdam, which is my son, with two twins that are 4.5 years old. And I want to be able to go and help them out some and, Yeah. But I've enjoyed being downtown. I wouldn't trade anything for the experience. I love Racine. I've loved Racine ever since the day my husband drove me in and said, we're going to live here.
Well, Lori, let's hear a little bit more about your business. And I'm curious, well, first of all, you alluded to it before, but what are your other businesses, the other three that preceded this one? What was first?
Divino Gelato is the original, and that's downtown Waukesha. We offer mostly gelato. Most of our sales there is gelato, about 90-95%. We do have some sandwiches and a little bit of soup, but mostly gelato and some pizza. Mostly gelato. It's a very tiny shop compared to this one. I think it's 1,300 square feet. That is our manufacturing facility, if you will. That is where we make the product.
I think we forgot to mention that, didn't we?
That we make it?
Yeah,
we make about 190 flavors.
That's
yes.
I
do
phenomenal.
work with some Italian chefs. In fact, on our anniversary, which was this opening day, actually it was October 6th, so it was the party on the pavement, was our 5th anniversary. We got married in Italy, and I was supposed to be back in Italy.
But you didn't
in
make
Bologna,
it.
getting my master's in gelato making. But we revised that trip a little bit, so I still plan on doing that. But yes, we make our own gelato.
And you're sort of the Uber chef. You alluded to this master's in...
I
so you have fairly extensive training?
I do a lot of the creating. I work with the chefs and so forth. However, I'm not in the kitchen all that often anymore. My daughter is actually my head chef. She's also my general manager. She's taken over for me when I'm not there. I can't be everywhere all the time. So she's 30 and she handles most of that now. And delegates, lets the other gelato makers know what we need at each location and so forth.
And
Eventually.
by the way, can I ask, are you making gelato here?
We will be, yes, we will be. We had it plumbed so that we could do that. Right now, it's such crunch time, and it was so difficult to make sure all the employees are, just for them to know what to do, how to do it is enough. We will be bringing that in the spring. We definitely could not handle bringing all that gelato out here. We don't have enough time for that. So we'll be getting the equipment and making it right here in the kitchen.
So that was your original one in Waukesha, and then what came next?
And that's still there. And then we opened Sloppy Joe's Soda Fountain. I actually had a coffee shop in between there in Pewaukee, and we had that 2 years and sold it. That's where my daughter, who is now managing for us, got her training there. Then we sold that. We opened Sloppy Joe's Soda Fountain, which is an ice cream parlor, and that's at the 5 Points in Waukesha. And that's another story. We were hoping to do bring something unique to that location. It was a prime location. My daughter's actually buying that from us, so she's really, I'm hands off now. I don't
Oh.
do too much there. She handles that and has really moved forward with that location. But we do make the ice cream for that location.
Wow.
So we were
Wow.
the creators, if you will. It's a 50s, the old little bow tie and that
Oh,
whole
yeah?
thing over
Oh,
there.
nice.
Very fun place.
Uh-huh.
They do hula hoop contests and the whole bit.
Oh,
Very fun place. And then we have the one in Florida. That's in Estero, Florida. That's Fort Myers, and that's the CBL Properties. We're in an open mall, kind of like Bayshore Mall.
and that was called what?
That's called the Rush Coffee and Tea Shop, and that's mostly coffee. It's a coffee shop, but it's real Floridian. We have bubble tea there,
Yeah.
which we sell a lot of, which we will be bringing here as well in the spring. But that one is very Floridian. We've got the Florida music, kind of Key Westy,
Uh-huh.
Key Westish.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're all very different. So it's
How many
it's a-
people did you hire here?
Here, I think I have about maybe a total of 14.
That's
I
fabulous.
plan on hiring a
14
couple
new jobs
more.
down here.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that is great.
It's exciting for
Yeah.
us. I do
Yeah.
plan on hiring a couple more.
Okay.
Several are students, and so their their
Mm-hmm.
hours
Yeah.
are
That's fabulous.
shifting.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, we're running short on time, but I wanted to ask Jane, are you, what are you going to do after you close the shop, and will you have any hand in downtown afterwards?
Absolutely. They're not going to get rid of me. Dorothy and I both, I've said that not even Raid will keep us away. We're both going to be down here, but first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Florida. To Florida. I'm thinking about Florida now. I'm going to go to Europe, spend 2 weeks with my grandkids at Christmas, and when I come back, then I'm going to help out at the Arts Council. Denise is a very good
Great.
friend of mine.
Great. Denise McKee.
Yeah, and I also am going to help out once in a while at RAM. I'll be able to be more involved. I love Lisa and Bruce. They're very good friends
Yeah.
of mine. And I will help out with anything that DRC needs, you
Wow,
know.
good for you.
And because I love downtown.
Yeah. good for
I've
you.
been rah-rah for this newspaper, because I keep saying to people when I first opened my store, in fact, my people would tell me to shut up. I've lived in towns where there was no downtown and there was no newspaper, and they're not conducive to living in. You need a
You
paper,
lack identity
and you
when
need
you-
a doc.
you
I
lack
want to
identity
live in a
when you
little,
lack
in
those
a,
things.
somewhere where I know who died,
Yeah.
who's born,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
and that's what all of this gives us.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it that the paper's down here.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot to both of you, Lori Lester from Divino Gelato Cafe, Jane Key. We'll be sorry to see you go.
Well, but I'm not
Inside
really
Out.
gone.
But thanks a lot. You've been watching Money Talks, the
I'll
Journal
have time
Times
to drink
online
coffee
business.
and have gelato, okay?
You've been watching Money Talks, the Journal Times online business show. You made me laugh by
I'm
talking over me
sorry,
there.
I'm sorry.
I'm business reporter Michael Burke. Thanks to producer Greg Shaver. Join us next time.